Perdido de amor, perdido estou por você. Amar seu olhar, seus lábios beijar é viver. À luz do luar eu fico a pensar em você. Um verso que diz: serei tão feliz com você. Perdido de amor, perdido estou por você. Seu beijo sensual, carícia ideal, não posso esquecer. E vivo a sonhar, seu nome a chamar, só penso em você. Perdido de amor, perdido estou por você. Perdido de amor, perdido estou por você. Seu beijo sensual, carícia ideal, não posso esquecer. E vivo a sonhar, seu nome a chamar, só penso em você. Perdido de amor, perdido estou por você. O dia que você gostar de mim, será o meu dia mais feliz. Os teus lábios hão de encontrar os meus na manhã desse amor que nasceu. Então desse encontro irá nascer o amor que eu sempre desejei. Os teus lábios hão de ir de encontro aos meus na manhã desse amor sem adeus.
Come on, folks, all we did was wave.
I thought that was for me.
It was.
We're just waiting for Steve Winnick. Oh, here he is. Excellent. If you would come have a seat, Steve, and then, when I pass you the microphone, I can do that. I guess I should sort of not be blocking everybody.
Nah, don't.
Is that better? Can we see everyone as well as myself? Yay. Welcome. I'm Diana Ingram. I'm the executive director here at Hill Center at the Old Naval Hospital. And I always have to ask, how many folks have never been in the building before, ever? Holy cow! Yay!
Holy crap.
Welcome! Oh my gosh, it is such an honor to... I know you. Oh my gosh, it's been years. It's so nice to see you. Anyway, yeah, welcome. This is amazing. We do have some programs that have been handed out. If you're not on our email list to receive advance notice of fabulous events like the one this afternoon, please do sign up. Please take a moment to turn off your mobile devices. You are sitting in our Abraham Lincoln Hall in Washington, D.C.'s very first naval hospital. It was commissioned by Abraham Lincoln just after the Civil War, and then served as a naval hospital for 20 years until the hospital moved down the road to where the State Department is now, and then became a medical training facility, and then an old soldiers' home. And 12 years ago, the building went through a $12 million landmark renovation, and we have reopened as an arts and cultural center. And it is such an honor to welcome this incredible musical presentation from China to Appalachia with Cathy Fink and Marcy Markser and Chao Tian.
Yes, thank you.
Did I say it correctly?
Perfect.
Thank you. Ni hao.
Yeah.
So this is a particularly unique presentation made possible by the Mid-Atlantic Arts Foundation, and they are in partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts. And it was really through Cathy and Marcy that we were able to pull this together. And I just want to personally thank both of you for all of your support for Hill Center. They show up for fundraising events. They come and make incredible music, and we really couldn't do it without them and without you folks. Programming is people. So let me take a moment to introduce Steve Winnick, who is an incredible musician in his own right. He is also a scholar, a published author. I don't think we have as much of a bio as we should in the program. And there are more programs. If you didn't get one, we'll have some concessions afterwards. Stephen Winnick is at the Library of Congress's American Folklife Center. And the conceit this afternoon is to do a musical conversation with Steve in his role as expert. My gosh, he has a master's degree and a PhD in folklore and folklife from the University of Pennsylvania, as well as a BA in English. So if the language doesn't meet our expectations, we know who to point the finger at. And he is himself a musician. In fact, the Ocean Orchestra is one of his oh, okay, and we have fans. And I understand from one of my colleagues that we may have them in concert here at Hill Center, so that too is exciting. But I will just say that he's played everywhere. The Birchmere, one of my personal favorites, Strathmore, Lisner Auditorium, the U.S. Navy Memorial. So very fitting that I should turn this afternoon here at the Old Naval Hospital over to Stephen Winnick. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for being here. It's an honor.
Thank you so much. And we're really here, of course, to hear music by these women on the stage, and so we'll talk a little bit about them. Cathy and Marcy, of course, are longtime, old-time music stars. They are some of the greatest old-time musicians that you will find. They also have other musical talents, including playing for kids. They're wonderful children's musicians and have the Grammy Awards to prove that. But also, they're really masters at working with other musicians in other genres, and that's something that today is really about, because they have decided to work with Chao Tian, who, I'll just say a couple of words about Chao Tian. She was trained in China in some of the most prestigious schools and ensembles for traditional and classical music, and then she came to the United States, where she's been working. She kind of got this idea of improvisation and has been working really a lot with the idea of musical improvisation, which isn't a big part of the Chinese classical or folk tradition. So that sort of led her a little bit into working with Cathy and Marcy in this project From China to Appalachia. And I think you all wanted to start with a tune before we talk too much, so why don't you
let's
get
have some music.
straight to some music.
We could.
I'm going to introduce this in English. Chao's going to introduce it in Chinese. It is a tune called August Flower, and we've chosen it because you can hear the similarities between the construction of this traditional Chinese melody and what American old-time music sounds like.
I don't know how many of you would understand the Chinese, but I will see it. 我们要演奏的第一首作品呢，叫做《八月桂花遍地开》，它是一首来自中国安徽省大别山地区的民歌。
So there you go. So that portends well for what this concert's going to be like. Such beautiful music. So thank you. And let's start by asking what gave you guys the idea to all collaborate between old time and Chinese traditional music?
The idea started because I have worked now going on 19 years at the Music Center at Strathmore in their Artist in Residence program, where we take 6 up-and-coming artists between the ages of 16 and 32, and they get a year of amazing business workshops, programming, concert opportunities, mentorship, etc. And I think it was about 5 years ago that Chao was one of our artists in residence. And we can collectively tell this story. Chao's an amazing musician, as you can tell. She didn't have that much familiarity at the time with American music, but she's so good, and she's not only a classical music reader, but she's also got a really good ear and can play by ear. Not every classical musician can do that. So we invited her to our home for a jam session. You want to tell them how you felt about that?
Definitely, yes. So about that jam session, that was my first ever jam session in my life. I promise I even never heard about the word jam before. I know what kind of jam in food, but I have no idea about why people keep saying jam for music. So I went to visit Cathy and Marcy and also with my mentor, Thas Kaibo, who is a very famous klezmer music. So Cathy said, Chao, let's play something together. I was like, what do you mean play something? Play what? Do you have music for me? And Cathy said, no, we don't need music. We just play. And she started a tune on banjo. And everybody, Marcy and Thas joined her. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started to pick up the tunes, the melodies, the lines, and I feel, wow, this is so new to me. And I have no idea about that kind of thing. After that jam session, Cathy said, you're an improviser, congratulations.
And she really is. And for us, it's very interesting because there's a long line of musicians that we have both mentored and eventually formed groups or done recordings or performances with. Some of you have seen Marcy and I perform with Sam Gleaves, who is one of the finest songwriters out there. A young man named Liam Purcell and Cane Mill Road, a great bluegrass band. They're going to be in town on August 13th. We've known Liam since he was 11 years old. And he is a phenomenal musician. And during COVID, he's about an hour away from where Marcy and I have a house in North Carolina. And I'd call him up and I'd say, hey, we're going to do an online performance for Joan's house, which is actually in Boone, where Liam lives. I says, come on over. We need a mandolin player and a bass player, you know. And then he'd come over and just join us. And we taught Liam how to record, be his own recording engineer and things like that. So with Chao, throughout the Strathmore program, in the very beginning, obviously her musicianship was right there, but she didn't yet quite have the confidence to be on stage and look at a bunch of people who might not speak Chinese and figure out what to say and how to say it and how to do it. And I said, well, let's just do a couple house concerts together and you'll get more comfortable. The more you do it, the more comfortable you are. And you can see how I put together intros, and we can do this and that, and that's what we did. And next thing you know, we're like, we should do a kind of, well, the next thing she did was she joined a tour with Marcy and me and Sam Gleaves. And we just added the hammer dulcimer to that. And Sam went off and has his own thing going out in Kentucky, and when we can get together with him, we do. But we realized that there was something very special about digging into the things that coincide and the things that don't between the Chinese music that Chao grew up with and the music that we do. And in fact, backstage we were just talking about, okay, how do we do that bilingual children's album? Let's start thinking about that.
But that opens a really interesting question, which is, what are those areas where Chinese music and Appalachian music kind of overlap, and where are the gaps? Yeah.
In the traditional tunes, they're actually quite similar. It's like and we find that with most countries. Yes, in the Appalachian Mountains and in this region, we have minor tunes, modal tunes, major tunes. So some areas of the world will gravitate towards minor more than others, but all the elements of music are there, and we're using the same basic scale patterns, the basic chromatic scale as we know it, and it fits. Country
good.
people, mountain people, we're united.
Mm-hmm. And where were the gaps that in the two traditions, do you think?
Sometimes the gaps are in the scales that are used in the Chinese music.
Literal gaps.
Literally
Yeah. Right, yes.
in the musical scale. But interestingly enough, like the tune August Flower, there's a tuning on banjo that sounds like this. It sounds like, how are you going to get music out of this? That's what that tuning is called. There's over 80 different ways that people tune the 5-string banjo. And when I heard August Flower, and Chao says it's in the key of G, and I listened to the scale patterns she was using. Can you just play a little scale from August Flower? So, da 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 da. That's a change, right? That's not an American scale or a Western musical scale. Da da da. In Western musical scale would be da 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 da. And she went da 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 da. And I've got right under my fingers without doing anything in this tuning. And when you play long enough, you can just kind of, it's like little puzzle pieces that come together for you. And then Marcy's got that beautifully on the cello banjo here. And this is one of our favorite trio combos. And of course, you're not going to see a Chinese classical hammer dulcimer, a 5-string old-time banjo, and a 4-string cello banjo in any other group in the world right now.
That is true. So did you want to demo the dulcimer and the cello banjo a little bit?
And I'll say a little bit about the banjo at the end, but I would love, many of you are probably familiar with American hammer dulcimer, often called the lumberjack's piano, because they could pick it up and take it off to their lumberjack camps, et cetera, et cetera. But the scaling that Chao uses is very different, and she has some tricks that nobody has.
You want me to show it now or
I
later?
want you to, well, just demo your instrument
Yes,
a little
please.
bit.
Okay.
How many strings do you have?
So what I have is a standard size Chinese dulcimer, and its Chinese name is called Yangqin. It spells Y-A-N-G-Q-I-N. It literally means an instrument from overseas, because Yangqin was introduced to China in the late 17th century from Middle East. It's an instrument from foreign country. So yang means foreign, and qin means instrument. Yes, and my instrument has 147 strings.
That all?
Yeah. So its appearance has evolved over the past 50 years. So we added strings to the original size dulcimer. And I think the most different feature from the American dulcimer is that we use bamboo hammers. So my hammers are made of bamboo, very flexible, lighter, and thinner. So I can do some single hands rolling. And it also has two sides of the hammers to make different sounds. And I'd say we use every part of the hammer to make different sounds. And we use the end of the hammers to pick the string. Sometimes dramatic. Yes.
Let's see, a couple of other things. You have what I would call fine tuners on there. Some of you have seen that on violins, where there's a little thing that you can turn at the end to. this is an amazing hammer dulcimer because it really holds its tuning incredibly well for 100 and how many strings? 47?
147.
So, but she's got some fine tuners. So if Chao's playing and she hears a little something that needs tweaking, show them what you do.
Yeah, we have a lot of, we call it rollers on the soundboard, on the side of soundboard to help us quick tuning on the stage if it is out of tune. Let me see if you can hear the difference. For example, this. So if I up.
Whereas on an American hammer dulcimer, you would see somebody holding onto a lever that has some kind of a screw nut in it, and you go like that, and you got a crank on it like a piano tuner. And the inside, I mean, the hammer dulcimer is basically like the inside of the piano, but this is
Yes,
also
we have
tuned differently than an American hammer dulcimer, isn't it?
Yes, because even though it is my instrument is a type of hammer dulcimer, but most of the hammer dulcimers, they have different notes arrangement, and I think that's the most difficult part for me to play on a new type of hammer dulcimer. Every time I need to, where is C, where is D? But if I have enough time, I can play naturally on a new type of dulcimer.
Great.
In fact, the tunings of the dulcimer in this country got standardized only in the early 1990s because the northern, my grandmother played hammer dulcimer, and so that was my first instrument, but the tuning from north and south were different. The bass notes were tuned differently. So you have to learn again on a standardized hammer dulcimer.
Yeah, there was a kind of a vogue for hammer dulcimer in the Midwest because Henry Ford was a big advocate of the instrument, and that ended up with Marcy learning hammer dulcimer as a kid, which is a great,
Absolutely.
a great contribution of Henry Ford to American culture was that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Chao, for explaining the hammer dulcimer and particularly the Chinese version of the instrument. Of course, the instrument is thought to have, come from Persia and migrated then both east and west from there. So that's why we have a version and China has a version and many other countries do as well. So now Marcy has this instrument. So we've gone from 147 strings to a nice 4-stringed instrument here, which is also capable of some really cool music. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the cello banjo?
The cello banjo was made in this country in the early 1920s, and I think they only did one batch. They did instruments in batches of 40.
Great popularity.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for this to catch on around the world. Still waiting. If you get in on a trend early enough, you get to see it happen, and so I'm still waiting. But no, I was made aware of this instrument by Mike Seeger, and he let me borrow his for a while, and in that time, I just bonded with it like in seconds. I loved it so much. So it was very generous of him to loan it to me. And then I found one in a music store in, where was it? Utah. And I was calling music stores who carried folk instruments, and I said, I'm looking for a cello banjo, and this guy says, oh my God. Says, I've had one on my wall for 30 years and no one's ever asked me about it. I want it. It's like, okay, so he sent me that banjo and a tenor banjo that looked just like it. It's like, oh, get these out of here. But I love it. I just bond with it. It's tuned like a cello. Just so happens that the first gig I ever got with a cello banjo, I only had mics for a couple of weeks, and I get this call from National Geographic, Chris Biondo and Lenny Williams, who were doing music to television, and they said, we've got to have something that nobody else has. I said, I've got it. And they said, come over here. So I was afraid to take Mike's banjo out of the house, so I wrapped the whole case and everything in bubble wrap and drove 2 blocks to the studio and pulled it out, and they played tracks that they'd already done. I had headphones on, I couldn't see any of the footage, and they played the tracks, and he said, oh, we forgot to tell you, it's Chinese. And I kind of went, oh. as you do in the studio. Somebody says, "Oh, it's Chinese." You go, "Oh, okay, yes." So I played this kind of stuff. They said, luckily, brilliant. It's like, whoa, gosh. And they wouldn't show me the footage while I was playing. I thought it could be easier to play along with the film footage. But they were directing me. It goes faster here and slows down, and then it's moody, and then it's this. It was a National Geographic special on animal husbandry. Yeah.
So what was on screen?
I had played the romantic track for giant Chinese pandas.
Nice.
For some people, they'd say, "Oh yeah, I played at the old Navy hospital." You know, it's like, man, that's really a feather in your cap.
I played the Getting Down with Pandas music.
with
Yeah.
Pandas.
Yeah,
song.
I'm as proud of that as I was for Hornets from Hell and the Killer Spiders and Shark Week.
Yeah.
So,
But you
I
did
played
bring
all
it
that
home
stuff.
and put it in front of me and said, "It's a money machine."
Right.
So we're going to play something actually inspired by Mike Seeger. And this, inspired by two things. I'm going to introduce the pieces, then I'm going to tell you a little bit about my banjo, and then we'll play these. And then, so the first piece is called Little Betty Ann, and it's a variant of a tune most people have heard called Shady Grove. Shady Grove, my true love, Shady Grove I know, Shady Grove, my true love, bound for Shady Grove. It's called Little Betty Ann. And Mike helped us start an old-time banjo festival that happened for about 15 years at the Birchmere, and we had workshops and contests and all kinds of things. And I'd been listening to his recording of Little Betty Ann since the 1970s. It was on one of his albums. It might have been the Second Farewell Annual Reunion, but regardless, I could never figure out the tuning. And it's true that there's over 80 different ways to tune the banjo. It's all oral history. You know, yes, there are some people who've gone through and written down all these different ways and written down tunes that are played in them. I'm not one of those people, but there was a secret to that tuning that I couldn't figure out. And I said, "Mike, what's the secret to that tuning? I've been trying to figure that out for 40 years. Here's the secret. This is the tuning that Shady Grove would be in. And I'll just give you a little Shady Grove. Now the secret to Little Betty Ann, I think the real secret is that whoever he collected it from had a bad fifth string peg. And the string had gone down. I honestly believe they intended to do it in Shady Grove tuning, but this is where the banjo was, and that's how they played it. And here's the odd thing. Even the dissonances become musical when you get used to them, right? And of course, our Western ears, we're not used to Balkan music and Balkan harmonies that happen in seconds. And then once you get used to it, it's like, what a beautiful sound. And that's what this is like. You're like, how do I make music out of that? Now I'm going to tell you one other thing about this banjo, because this is a magic banjo. It's a tubaphone banjo from 1926. A friend of mine made the neck, probably around 1984, something like that. So it's my main banjo. I've got a bunch of banjos, but this is the one that has the magic. It's known in the old-time music community as the banjo that tells no lies. If I make a mistake, it will be very loud. And so about 16 years ago, I'm sitting at the breakfast table with Earl Scruggs during Merle Fest. We were staying at the same hotel, and I'm playing a little bit of banjo, and Earl looks at me and goes, "That banjo sounds pretty good." And I looked back at him and I said, "You know what, Earl? That banjo would sound a little better if you would sign it." He said, "Okay." So I run to the desk, I get a Sharpie. Earl signs my banjo right here. And then 3 weeks later, we're doing a show with Pete Seeger. I go backstage at Strathmore. "Hey, Pete, I want you to sign my banjo. Here's a pen." He looks at it. He goes, "You got Earl Scruggs on there. What do you need me for?" I said, "Shut up and sign my banjo." And then Peggy signed it underneath. she's got Chicken Scratch, and Brother Mike signed it above, and now it's been signed by Bela Fleck and Adam Hurt and anybody who's anybody in the banjo world, so be it. And so the first tune that we're going to do is Little Betty Ann, but then we're going to follow it with something that honors Steve and the work that he does at the Library of Congress and the Folk Archives, because we've had the opportunity several times to take the Folk Archive Challenge. And you can go find these on the Library of Congress website. They're so awesome. We just go to the Library of Congress website, we dig into some music we haven't heard, we learn something, we reinterpret it, and then we perform it. And of course, the head of the American Archive of Folk Culture for many years was Alan Jabbour, and he was also a very important collector of American fiddle tunes and folk music. So when we were invited as a trio to do something for the Folk Archive, it was obvious that we needed to pick something from Alan Jabbour's repertoire. Chao, in the meantime, had fallen in love with American old-time music. She just wants to start an old-time band. And so we chose a tune called Kitchen Girl that he collected from Henry Reed of Southern Virginia. And then as we're sitting there in the kitchen playing Kitchen Girl with Chao, she goes, "There's a Chinese tune that sounds just like that." These connections that you weren't anticipating are all right there if you're just open to exploring. So we're going to play Little Betty Ann, hats off to Mike Seeger. Then we're going to play Kitchen Girl, and when Chao takes her solo, it's going to be the Chinese tune. All right, are we? And then I think, are we about ready for a short break? Or do you have more questions? And also, he can curate a little bit of Q&A if y'all have questions, but there is a second set, so don't go home.
So we'll talk a little more after your
that's
tunes.
great.
And
That's
then
great. One of the fun things about Mid-Atlantic tours who are supporting this performance is that they do want us to do like outreach and education and all that kind of stuff. And so if questions come up, let us know. Little Betty Ann, she's a pretty little girl, neither black nor brown, just looks like thunder head before the rain comes down. Step alive, my little Betty Ann, step alive, I say. Step alive, my little Betty Ann, bound to go my way. I'm going away, I'm coming back again if I go 10,000 miles. Going away, coming back again if I don't take sick and die. Step alive, my little Betty Ann, step alive, I say. Step alive, my little Betty Ann, bound to go my way. Take sick, my love, and die so far from home, who would hold your aching head and hear your pitiful moan? If I was to take sick, my love, and die so far from home, I'd lay my head down on my rock so I could hear me moan. Step alive, my little Betty Ann, step alive, I say. Step alive, my little Betty Ann, I'm bound to go on my way.
Thank you for those tunes and for taking the Archive Challenge. So I'm going to say a couple of words about the Archive Challenge, which is something that we do at the Library of Congress here. This is where I work here on the Hill. And in the Archive Challenge, so over the years, people have dug into the materials that we have in the archive, like the first track on Johnny Cash's first LP, for example, is a song originally recorded for our archive, and you know, hundreds and hundreds of other people have recorded stuff from the archive, but we had this idea of directly encouraging that a few years ago, and so we started to try to match musicians up with materials from the archive, and we just called it the Archive Challenge. So we've been doing that since 2015, and Cathy, Marcy, and Chao were in the sort of latest iteration of the Archive Challenge. But we do it at the Folk Alliance meetings every year, but we also do it on stage at the Library of Congress, and we do it in various venues. And one of the things that we've done recently is we put a blog post online that explains how anyone can do it without us doing anything. We just show you where all the goodies are so that you can find them online. So if you go to the Library of Congress website, look for Archive Challenge, you'll find about 100 videos of songs just like that, but also instructions for how you could take the Archive Challenge yourself. So that's one of the fun things that we do at the Library of Congress. And another thing you'll find on that website, the Library of Congress, loc.gov, is all of those field recordings of Henry Reed, which are, you know, the source recording for this tune was among those. And that's just one of the collections that we have online. So getting back to our artists, what was the most surprising thing that you discovered in doing this collaboration between Chinese music and Appalachian music, do you think?
The most surprising thing, and you might have your own answer, is a song we're going to do in the second set that
Okay.
Chao brought to the group, so I'm not going to spill the beans on it. But you'll know soon.
I think the most surprising thing that I found from this collaboration is I knew Chao was a great musician, but now I know she's probably the best musician we've ever played with.
Oh, I think, I agree. I think Chao is amazing as well, and we've worked together in various ways. And I will mention soon after the Old Time Jam that you mentioned, we had an Old Time Jam at the Library of Congress, and Cathy and Marcy brought Chao to that as well. So we got to see her jamming on the hammer dulcimer with all kinds of old-time musicians. And there's one recording from that because we were also recording a podcast about the song Kumbaya, because we have the first known recording of that song. And so we recorded Kumbaya with Cathy leading, if you recall, and Chao was playing on it. So
Thanks
if you
for
look,
reminding me.
yeah, so if you look on the Library of Congress website for a podcast about Kumbaya, you'll hear Chao playing on that song as well.
I want to brag on Chao about one more thing. She's headed to Boston University.
Absolutely.
For a PhD in ethnomusicology, but the critical thing is that 200 people were vying for one open slot, and in front of you is the person who got it.
Steve and Cathy are two of my recommendation letter people. Thank you so much.
That's right. And so we've unleashed her upon the world, and this is going to be a fantastic thing, I think.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. So, Chao, what is the biggest surprise to you about this collaboration?
As Cathy mentioned, we met 5 years ago at Strathmore Music Center, and I started to collaborate with local people from different genres, right? I play jazz, I play blues, all kinds of music, but old-time music is very special to me. I think if you compare traditional Chinese music to Western classic music, the distinctions is very obvious. But in folk music, I think both from the Chinese side and the US side, we share a lot of commonalities in folk music. For example, we both place a high value on melody and the textural significance of folk vocal music, especially those lyrics in songs. always come up with a beautiful story background. And another feature I think we share in common is the ensembles of different instruments that we play the same melody but in various ways happened in both sides. I think there's a natural link of folk musicians because I'm a folk musician. I have a very strong traditional Chinese music background. I feel like my language, my music language, is most understandable in the collaboration with American roots musicians here. So I consider this genre my home music. And I think there is a natural link of folk music that makes us more closer, like make us closer and help us better communicate with each other. That's the amazing part.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, yeah, that the folk music should feel like it has a stronger connection than the different classical music traditions, but you can really hear it in the music that you're playing. So you did mention, Cathy, that we could take some questions from the audience, and I see someone
We
who'd
can
like
take some answers from them too.
and like to ask, so I have a microphone I can hand to you.
My question is, Chao, what are you going to do when you finish your PhD? Are you planning to teach or what?
Is a question that for my future plan after my PhD. So thank you so much. So I used to work in a college in China. I was, they call it a professor, but not like a real professor before. So I really want to teach in a college here. And my PhD research interest is in intercultural improvisation, the language of music, the music language in intercultural collaboration. So I think my future goal will become a professor somewhere, DC or anywhere here. Yeah.
Well, we hope it's nearby so that we can continue to hear you
Hopefully.
play music.
Yes.
Are there other questions other folks want to ask? Let's see if we can. I don't know how we get this microphone to you.
Okay. So I started to learn this instrument at age 5, very young age, and my parents kind of selected this one for me because my neighbor's daughter was playing this instrument, and my parents asked, "Do you want to play it?" I was too young to take this question serious, so I said yes. I didn't think that much because this is a quite heavy one, and it's not very convenient for travel. and once you commit to hammer dulcimer, you will need to do a lot of exercise and be strong mentally and physically. So, so that's my very, very first story with the dulcimer. So I started to learn it at age 5. Then I did a great job because I'm a very ambitious girl, and I listened to my parents' very behavior. I did a great job in any competitions in China. I got first one prizes all the time. So everybody thought you should go to the professional school. So I went to the conservatory school, but middle school, high school in professional music study at age 12. Then I spent almost my early whole life in the music school. So that's happened.
That's why she knows more than me.
Oh.
And she will soon know more than any of us, which is a great thing, yeah. So one more question maybe from the audience, and do you guys want to do one more tune before the break, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so one more question and one more tune. All right, we have a question right here.
So a question for Chao, but also for Marcy and Cathy. Chao, when you're playing, you play so speedily often, and I find myself wondering whether you have pictures in your head or are you focused on listening to where does your mind travel or not?
Thank you, Marilyn, my friends, my U.S. mother. we know each other for years, and she's the one helped me to get this PhD too. So she helped me a lot. Thank you so much, Marilyn. So to answer her question, it really depends on what kind of a system I use in my mind, because I have a classic music system and also have a traditional system and some kind of crazy improvisational system. So it depends on what kind of music I'm involving with. So when I play with musicians like Cathy and Marcy, it kind of in middle of improvisation and some existent melody, right? So when I speedily pick up the melody and to create some chords or accompaniment, my mind was like working so fast, like processing the whole things. And to be honest, there's no like magic map there. There's nothing about like magic there. There's all, sometimes we call it calculation, but musically. Some depends on the musicology knowledgement, and some rely on the experience, and some and the rest part might be some creative thing that I couldn't explain clearly. Maybe one day that might be a good topic for my research. Got it. Yeah. So it's really, really good. A good question. Do you have any idea about that?
What was the question?
What?
No, I'm not. I'm not really seeing pictures. I'm just really focused on what I'm hearing and what sounds my fingers are producing, and in some ways, in that improvisational mode, what can I do that I haven't done before that's still going to fit into what we're trying to do?
Well, when I'm playing, I did take classical guitar lessons when I was a kid for a while, and that's really helped me. But I found that, I started playing guitar when I was about 5, and this was when I was about 14. And so I had some habits already built in. And what I found was, as soon as I got kind of up and running on a piece and could feel it, my eyes were unfocused. Like when I'm playing, I'm trained myself to look this way, but generally I'm not really so I could be looking off this way and doing the same thing. So for me, it's just more like a feel and a connection and feeling how far those notes are from each other.
She goes to Planet Marcy.
I get happy.
And she stays there for a long
very
time.
Happy.
So one thing that I'll say is it's fairly common for traditional ballad singers or completely solo musicians to see those pictures in their minds. But when you're playing in a group, you have to listen so much to what the other musicians are doing that listening is as important as what you're playing. So that's sort of what occupies your mind, I think, more. So that would be one of the reasons why it might differ depending on the context of what you're doing. So I think what we're seeing here is so beautiful and an example of not only intercultural collaboration but mentorship. Cathy mentioned that she's mentored a lot of musicians. Cathy and Marcy both have mentored a lot of musicians, and it's amazing when you talk to some of the traditional musicians who live in this area and even some of the ones who don't. Like, everybody says, wow, without Cathy and Marcy, where would we be? I was talking to Jake Blunt during the Smithsonian Festival, and again, I hope your ears were burning that night because we were talking about how great you are and how wonderful the mentorship is between Cathy and Marcy and all of the musicians that they work with. And Chao, of course, as such a brilliant musician, is just a wonderful foil for them and just great to hear them together. So I want to thank the three of you again for letting me be part of this.
Thanks for being part of it. Steve Winnick.
Thank you. And take it away.
So after this, we'll take a very short intermission. We've got a ton more of music to play. We'll probably run out of time before we can get to it all. But this is another you can only see it here combination. It's going to be Chao on the hammer dulcimer, no surprise. I'll be playing a gourd banjo, which really resembles what banjos sort of might have looked like when they first were reimagined in the United States by slaves who were bringing, creating instruments from what they had seen. And the gourd banjo has no frets. And can I hear an A?
And while they're tuning, I didn't realize this till this moment, but I'll be playing a Barbie Doombeck.
So the
And
Doombeck.
really, because pink instruments are usually the ones that are on sale. It's like if you have a pink one, a blue one, and a green one, the pink one is on sale because it's been there the longest.
Absolutely.
So, but now it's Barbie, so it's a whole new thing.
So the Doombeck, the gourd banjo, and the Chinese classical hammer dulcimer. And this is a tune that was really originally made popular by one of my favorite Kentucky musicians, a woman named Cousin Emmy, Cynthia May Carver. And she made up a song to the tune of a traditional fiddle tune, Reuben's Train. She called it Ruby, Honey, Are You Mad at Your Man? Now, later on, the Osborne brothers took that and turned it into a big bluegrass hit. But it was Cousin Emmy's first. And if you want to see the very best segment of Pete Seeger's show, Rainbow Quest, on YouTube, and it's free to go see, go look up the one with Cousin Emmy, and you can watch Cousin Emmy with her high-heeled shoes and her bouffant hairdo play the rubber glove. Now, it takes a certain kind of bicycle, what do you call it?
Yeah, the gizmo. Takes the gizmo.
The gizmo where you close off a bicycle tire, what is it? A valve, yeah.
Oh,
And I
there you
have
go.
searched high and low for those valves because I personally need to recreate that party trick. But so far, I haven't been able to see it. So here we go with Ruby. Then we'll take a short intermission. There are snacks out there. There are drinks out there. There are Cathy, Marcy, and Chao CDs. And for those of you who have heard a little scuttlebutt about our film, the comedy musical about Marcy's cancer experience, All Wigged Out, DVDs are available out there as well. So here we go. Ruby. Oh, Ruby. Honey, are you mad at your man? Well, I've done all I can do to try and get along with you. Still, you ain't never satisfied. Oh, Ruby. Oh, Ruby. Oh, honey, are you mad at your man? I'll set you in the shade and I'll shovel with a spade. I'm digging in Bill Brown's gold mine. Oh, Ruby. Oh, Ruby. Well, honey, are you mad at your man? If you don't believe I'm right, you can follow me tonight. Well, I'll I'll set you in my shanty so cold. Oh, Ruby, oh, Ruby. Well, honey, are you mad at your man? Thank you so much. Thanks again to Stephen Winnick. And we'll be back in under 10 minutes. Are we on? Yeah, perfect, great. Thanks, everybody. We're going to open the second half with another one of those not so common combos, the ukulele, the guitar, and the Chinese classical hammer dulcimer. And this is on a European folk tune, Django inspired, called Dark Eyes. Can I get a little more of the ukulele in the monitor, please? Steve said, what's your favorite thing? One of my favorite things in this collaboration, all the ways that these things come together. We've all been doing a lot of our own research on what material do we want to play together. We come together in the kitchen, we hang out, we goof off on tunes. Chao comes in and she says, I found this thing by Pete Seeger. And it's called The 3 Rules of Discipline and the 8 Points of Attention. And it's fascinating. One of the fascinating things is that the recording that she found happens to be a live concert that I personally was sitting in the audience of in Montreal in the 1970s. I had completely forgotten about this. And it's a really interesting story because it goes back to the times when the nationalist armies led by Chiang Kai-shek, who were fighting the Reds in the Chinese Civil War in 1928, they were defecting, and they were joining the Chinese Red Army, and most of them were peasant soldiers, and they were illiterate. But there were rules, and the rules were actually not terribly different than what we often look at in the West as the Ten Commandments. But the way to teach those rules was the same way that we like to teach things like the ABCs in a song, because these people weren't literate, and so you do it in a song, everybody's going to learn it. And it was recorded live in 1975 with Pete Seeger, Arlo Guthrie. Pete had everybody whistle. Did that have to do with us? No.
Something happened.
Pete had everybody whistle the melody, and we're going to teach you the melody, but Chao's going to introduce it in Chinese first.
OK again，接下来这首作品呢叫做《三大纪律八项注意》。So the title you can hear 三大纪律八项注意 is as long as the English version, 3 major disciplines and 8 points of attention. That's really long title. 这首歌呢是非常著名的一首中国革命歌曲，它是在1935年的9月份创作的。我从小就听这首歌曲长大。I heard this song when I was very young. My parents sang it to me, not every day, but often. But I'm familiar with the melody, but not the lyrics. Until we started to work together, I noticed, oh, the lyrics are exact the rules and attentions. So, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Now, it is the 3 points of attention and the 8 rules, but we're only doing 7 of the rules because we don't like the 8th one. And that's our prerogative. Oh, so first, I'm going to teach you your part. This is the beginning of audience participation. You can whistle, you can do la, whatever you want. The melody goes. Response, sing it back to us so that when it comes around, y'all can either la, hum, whistle, whatever you want to. If you want to get up and dance, that's fine with us. So the first line, la, 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 la. You know, we owe it to Pete to do it this way. La, 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 or whistle. Next line, la 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 la. I'm not going to finish that line. We're going to go that far. La 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 la. And here's where it becomes confusing. Here's where Chinese music and American music diverge. La 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 la. There's just extra beats there. Everybody sing that. La 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 la. So now we're going to put that whole line together. La 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 la. Next line, la 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 la. 1, 2, 3,
说话和气，
Speak politely.
买卖公平，
Pay fairly for what you buy.
借东西要还，
Return everything you borrow.
损坏东西要赔偿，
Pay for anything you damage.
不打人骂人，
Do not hit or swear at people.
不损坏庄稼，
Do not damage crops.
不调戏妇女，
Do not take liberties with women. Your turn's coming now. very much. I think you all made Pete proud. That's the kind of thing he would have liked a lot, and I'm really glad. We're going to do a song now that was written by Ola Belle Reed, one of our mentors and one of our heroines in music. Ola Belle Reed was a wonderful musician from Ashe County, North Carolina, originally Grassy Creek, now known more as Lansing, North Carolina. And if you drive into Lansing, North Carolina, which is clearly off the beaten track, the first thing that you're going to come into now is a giant store-sized mural, color mural of Ola Belle Reed, and it is drop-dead gorgeous and such a great tribute to her. We met Ola Belle probably in the early 1980s. I started listening to her music in the 1970s, recordings on Smithsonian Folkways recordings and Rounder Records. But one of the things that Marcy and I have done through the years, and particularly in the 80s, is not unlike Mike Seeger, the New Lost City Ramblers, and a lot of our mentors, when we heard recordings of people that we loved, we wanted to meet those people. We wanted to learn directly from them. And it took about a couple of weeks of phone calls to get hold of Ola Belle Reed on the phone, and she invited us over to her house in Rising Sun, Maryland. Her family had made their way from the south to the north for work purposes like so many other people. She went on to become a National Heritage Fellowship Award winner. She played at an early Smithsonian Folklife Festival about 1972, and International Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame awardee. In 1962, she had a big batch of songs that she had written. She grew up playing all this great old traditional music from Grassy Creek, but at some point, long before the word singer-songwriter was a buzzword, good or bad, she realized she had her own things to say, and she was going to do it within the context of that music. She was a great humanist, and this particular song really fits into what I would call the high lonesome sound of bluegrass music. Now, Ola Belle wasn't a bluegrass musician. She was really an old-time musician and somewhat of a folk musician, but her songs adapted themselves to bluegrass quite well. In 1962, she was at a bluegrass festival in a parking lot. Del McCoury was there. And she said, "Hey, Del, I've got a whole bunch of songs. Can I pitch you some of my songs? Maybe you'll think of recording one on your next album." Del did something you wouldn't think of. He pulled out of his car a reel-to-reel tape machine. He said, "Well, I'll never remember them if I don't record them." And he recorded a bunch of Ola Belle songs. He zeroed in on this song called High on a Mountain. And it became, I'm gonna call this song one of the rites of passage in bluegrass music. If you're gonna be in a bluegrass band, or these days in an old-time band, this is one of the songs that you have to know. And it really invokes the spirit of Grassy Creek and the vibe of that sort of loneliness at the same time as respect for what goes on in the mountains. So here it is, High on a Mountain. Just as far as I can see. As my memory turns on, how my heart does yearn, you and the days that used to be. High on a mountain, wind blowing free, thinking about the days that used to be. My wonder if you ever think of me, or if time has blotted your memory. As I listen to the breeze whisper gently through the trees, I'll always cherish what you meant to me. High on the mountain, wind blowing free, thinking about the days that used to be. High on the mountain, standing all alone, wondering where the years of my life have flown. High on the mountain, wind blowing free, thinking about the days that used to be. High on the mountain, standing all alone, wondering where the years of my life have flown. Thank you.
Well, I was looking for a string that was in tune on the mandolin. Turns out none of them were.
Chao talked a little bit about the world of improvisation, and since those first jam sessions without jam in our house, she has gone to her own special place in the world of improvisation. And actually, even as a trio, we have structures to our arrangements, but very few arrangements are set in stone. We kind of have a structure, and then we just kind of trust each other to play music. And right now, she's going to do one of her improvisations for you.
Thank you so much, Cathy. The next music I'm going to improvise one based on the Chinese folk song. The difference will be, I played a lot of pentatonic scale, 5 tones, enough. So today I'm going to pick one song, but not in pentatonic scale, from China. This one is originally from Xinjiang, China. It's a dance music for the local ethnic group people, Uyghur people. Sounds similar to the Turkish music, to Middle Eastern a little bit. I'll create my own version for our concert. It's called Half Moon is Rising.
I haven't heard that, and I totally love it. And it sounds a little Mexican. A little. I think she was drinking tequila when she started.
I mean, music is universal language. It can be anything. I mean, okay.
So Marcy and I feel like it's our job, amongst other things, to expose Chao to as many different styles of American roots music as we possibly can. We're going to do a ragtime tune now that is called the Pig Ankle Rag.
They just don't name tunes like they used to. Can you believe it? Well, maybe some kinds of music does.
Come on. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
2, 1, 2, 3. do an original song now. Since the beginning of the pandemic, almost every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., I have a Zoom appointment with my friend Tom Paxton, and we write a song together. And we've written songs together before, but once the pandemic happened, it's like, okay, that's a weekly appointment. We probably have, at this point, written about 75 songs together in the last couple of years. And he's keeping appointments with about 12 other songwriters. So at the age of 85, Tom is far from finished. Last January 2022, I guess, we made a live double album of a whole bunch of those songs. And this one's one of my favorites, partly because it pays tribute to one of our great local musicians, a woman named Grace Griffith. If you aren't familiar with Grace, you can look her up. In addition to her own beautiful songbird-like voice and amazing personality, she is the main reason why any of you ever heard of Eva Cassidy, because were it not for Grace, Eva's record label would not have heard her. And Marcy and I were on Grace's care team for over 15 years. She passed away of Parkinson's disease. And shortly after that, Tom and I had one of our writing sessions, and he said, "What do you want to write about today?" And I said, "Well, we need a song for Grace." And we ended up writing this song called Grateful that I want to teach you to the chorus to sing along on. It's pretty easy. I sing, "And I'm grateful," and there's another line. "I'm grateful, da 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 da. I'm grateful, da 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 da.
My gratitude to you is ever strong.
Ever strong." Thank you for reminding me.
Anytime.
All right, so your
That's what I'm
part
here
is
for.
mostly "I'm grateful." You pick up more words, sing along on them, sing in harmony, do the whole thing. This goes out to Grace Griffith, but it also goes out to some of our longtime friends who are in the crowd, and particularly I'm going to sing it to our friend Sheila Robinson, whose birthday it is today.
Yay!
69th birthday. We wish you very well. So, here we go. I've been lucky in the love that's come my way. And the friends I know are the kinds of friends who stay. Some are with me now, and some have traveled on. Their love is with me yet, though they have gone. And I'm grateful for the love that will not die. I'm grateful as the years go slipping by. I'm grateful to be able to sing this song. My gratitude to you is ever strong. There are times when my loneliness has won, and others when you were the only one. To lift me up, make me smile again. I can't tell you what it means to have a friend. And I'm grateful for the love that will not die. I'm grateful as the years go slipping by. I'm grateful to be able to sing this song. My gratitude to you is ever strong. And I hope that I have done the same for you. Made you better when you were feeling blue. Acted like a fool just to make you smile. You showed me how to go that extra mile. And I'm grateful for the love that will not die. I'm grateful as the years go slipping by. I'm ever strong. One more time. And I'm grateful for the love that will not die. I'm grateful as the years go slipping by. I'm grateful to be able to sing this song. My gratitude to you is ever strong. It ain't all the tricks that Chao Tian has up her sleeve. You haven't seen them all yet.
Do you want me to introduce this? Sure. Okay. So the next one, I'm going to play this percussion, traditional percussion. It's actually I just started to play it last year. A theater production invited me to join them in UK, and I felt like the sounds is really good for a moment of that theater production. So I called my Chinese musician friend, to order one from Singapore, actually online, because the shipping is very fast from Singapore than from China. Let me introduce a little bit about this one. As you can see, I have 4 pieces of bamboo. I don't know, sticks is the right word, maybe slices, I don't know. So 1 pair on each hand. When I play it, actually they're separate, right? They're separate, and I only hold them with my fingers like this. Make it fully like parallel, separate. And when I play it, I applied my finger and all my fingers and my wrist a little bit to make the sounds. It's the movement is very subtle, and it should be subtle. And you don't want the audience to say you shake on the stage, right? So it should be elegant, classic, and with some beautiful movement, which I don't know. And this instrument is called 四宝. The translation is 4 treasures, 4 pieces of treasures. And it's especially used in Nanyin music, a very traditional Chinese music genre from southern China. Normally, when the musicians play this instrument for Nanyin music, the music is very slow, and for a while, then click, then pause, then maybe some dances. So I know when I first time introduced this one to Cathy and Marcy, they said, "Oh, we have the same thing here. We have the bones." And I said, no, that's not the bones. That's bamboos. See, what's the difference, right? So, and we...
It's like a disease.
Yes. We're trying to make a combination, very interesting combination with the 4 treasures. And what is the style of...
It's an American roots
Conglomerate.
gospel
gospel
song, and it's definitely a lot of improvisation.
And it's quite a challenge for me, too. Yeah.
don't you cry. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you cry. Hear the branches in the thicket creak as you go running by. Oh, children, don't you mourn. Oh, children, don't you mourn. You got the sun in your eye and a belly full of corn. Right, you got it. Oh, Mary, you're a wild bird in flight. Oh, Mary, you're a wild bird in flight. If that trouble comes calling, you'll be flying through the night. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Trouble's looking for you as sure as you're born.
Well, this has been a total pleasure. We want to thank Shay back there on the sound. Great job. Marianne and Diane from here at the Hill Center. They have great programming, so keep on supporting it. Can I hear an A?
We want to thank Stephen Winnick.
We do have a whole tour coming up starting October 13th. Our next show is actually in Rockville. You can sign our email list out there. You can get a copy of Chao's CD, lots of our CDs all wigged out. And right now, tons of our friends are gathered together in Clifftop, West Virginia, middle of nowhere, in their camping gear for the purpose of staying up all night drinking as much moonshine as they can and playing fiddle tunes until the cows come home, the sun comes up, the sun goes down, and they can't take it anymore. And this is one of my favorite Clifftop fiddle tunes. We're going to close with it. It's called Tipping Back the Corn. And if you need to know what the corn is, talk to us
Comes in
later.
a mason jar.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we've just had our first band argument.
We did?
Yeah, so
I missed it.
what song to end with? I'm voting for a Chinese lullaby. How about that? And thank you all so much for being here. Now, I will confess that I can't do this without looking at the pronunciation. So, Chao, tell them about this tune.
The thing I'm reluctant to do this one because I'm going to sing. I barely sing. This is even like more challenge than the sticks thing. Musician is instrumentalist is really different from a vocalist. I mean, it's not the same. So the song is a very famous one from China. Is a makes it famous, popular, and continues to be one of the most recognizable folk song in China. The original song actually has 3 sections of lyrics, but we are going to just sing one from the 3 because it's quite challenge for Cathy and Marcy to learn a new language. So the story.
Yeah, we're singing in Chinese. You think she's nervous?
so fair, okay. So the story tells about Chinese people working on small-scale agricultural development to beautify their hometown, which is a place called Nanniwan. So that's the title of the song, Nanniwan. The first thing to being a singer is to get used to with the mic staring at you here.
It doesn't bite.
Okay.
花篮的花儿香，听我来唱一唱，唱呀一唱，来到了南泥湾，南泥湾好地方，好地呀方，好地方来好风光，好地方。 好风光，到处是庄稼，遍地是牛羊。
花篮的花儿香，听我来唱一唱，唱呀一唱。 来到了南泥湾，南泥湾好地方，好地方，好地方来好风光，好地方来好风光，到处是庄稼，遍地是牛羊。
好地方来好风光，好地方来好风光，到处是庄稼，遍地是牛羊。
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.